Good morning, folks. It's Rich here. I say good morning, depends where you are in the world, I guess. I'm in the UK, so it's definitely morning, Sunday morning, hence bad hair day, which is ironic, really, considering how few hairs I've got. Anyway, this is the first in a series of videos about, it is predominantly about depression and how I cope and deal with things. I've been a sufferer for a long time, but it's also about the kind of lifestyle you lead and your general emotional health and some things that have happened to me and some things that I do to try and make that better. So it's just like an everyday kind of man's view on this. So the way these videos are going to run, I'm trying not to make it too long and too windy, but just the quickly it'll be the point of what the video is for, a little bit about me so you know why I'm talking about this, a little bit about the topic of the day, if you like, and then a quick summary. So on that note, the bit about me, so I'm 45 years old. I've struggled with depression, OCD issues, perfectionism, and yeah, it's gone back kind of 30 odd years or more. My childhood is a childhood I wish I never had. I've been bankrupt before, married and divorced. I've survived suicide attempts 3 times, which yeah, it's just one of those things really. And I have real sort of self-image and self-esteem issues, amongst other things. So I'm yeah, I guess that's a bit of a weird way of putting it really, but I guess I'm experienced in feeling shit, really. So the purpose of this particular video is what your aspirations are for recovery. And because I think that was one of the things that I really struggled with. I figured that there'd be a way that I'd be cured at some point, which isn't necessarily the case, and it's not what you think. So this video is about aspirations for recovery and how you can feel better and how much better you think you might be able to be. It's also on this video going to be a short book list, which doesn't tie in directly with this video. I might refer to them in some other ones, but I just wanted to give people, whilst we're having a quick talk, some books that I've managed to read, and some that I've also done on audio book, so I can't bother to read a lot of the time, which might help. So without further ado, aspirations. When I first properly started some counselling stuff was 12 years ago. It was after a suicide attempt that didn't work out, and I was forced to go and see people. I had to see a psychiatrist for a bit, and then saw some other therapists. And my aspiration at the time, I guess, while I was really low at that point, so my aspiration was nothing. You can't change my life. You can't change my physical circumstances of where I live and who I'm living with. You can't change my financial status, my job, my relationship. No one can just magic wand and make these things go away or make them better or different. So what's the point? So I kind of went into that first round of counselling with somebody with thinking this is pointless. And that went on. We'll fast forward a few years, and the cycle of events of how I run my life and how my emotional health works just carried on going. Really, I didn't get any better. So the next time I was really low and feeling suicidal again, I somehow managed to have the balls, with some help with friends, I guess, as well, saying, look, don't do that. You're worth something to us, even if you don't feel like you're worth anything to yourself. And go and seek some counselling. So that time round, my aspiration was I can be cured. I can be cured. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Just wake up and you're cured, and you don't feel shit all the time, and you don't have crazy thoughts about things, and you don't have self-loathing and self-hate and lack of self-love and all those sorts of things. And one of the benchmarks for my I think I want to be cured is I have what I call my base level happiness. So normal people, whoever they are, they wake up in the morning, and on this imaginary scale of 0 to 10 and 0 to -10, they just start at 0. They're in a neutral position, or they might start higher. They might get out of bed, looking forward to the day and all that jazz. And but I don't. See, I I get up in the morning, I'm already below that baseline. So it takes stuff to get me to that neutral position, and then for me to feel better, and go over that neutral position, it takes even more work to get there. Now there are some days where I wake up, I get out of bed in a state of neutrality, which are great and much appreciated. But my aspiration for therapy and taking antidepressants as well was that I would always be at least neutral every day. Well, ideally more, and the lows wouldn't be as low. They'd just be like someone having a bad day. There wouldn't be a sort of like a significant moment in time where all these mad thoughts start coming back in my mind and life's difficult and I can't motivate myself at work and gym and relationship stuff and all that sort of stuff. So aspirations for being cured, and part of what tied in with that for me is also I have certain perfectionism traits in my personality and sort of OCD-ish. So I set myself up to fail, I guess, constantly. I always expect things to be perfect or better than they should be, and I like to keep my shit in order as well. The OCD side of things a little bit too. So the aspirations of being cured, or so to speak, were probably even higher than they sound, because I always expect things to be in a certain manner that they rarely turn out to be. In fact, one of my little phrases that I coined is expect to be disappointed, but don't be disappointed by it, which never really works because I'm always just disappointed anyway. But so in terms of aspirations, it's a tricky one. I think the important thing, if you're going to go down the therapy route, which I believe you should when you're ready, is keep your aspirations down, because I'm not too sure that everyone's ever really cured, in truth, because you've had a lifetime of conditioning, you've had family life that was not good, you've had things that have happened to you, and then as life has gone on, your reactions to your upbringing and your reactions to how you feel about yourself have quite often then been destructive in different ways, which can be from as blatant as drinking drugs to financial ruin to just your behaviour with your relationships with other people and work. So I'm not too sure that those things just get unlearned after a lifetime of them being in that way. So in terms of aspirations of being cured, I think it's more about an ongoing process of working with yourself. Well, I'll say, I think that for me, that is what it is. I have to invest time and effort in myself on a daily basis to try and keep myself in a good state. And it's difficult when you're someone who suffers with depression, low mood, and low self-esteem, because you get lack of motivation, and when you've got someone who's got low aspects of self-care as well, you just get days where you just can't be asked. You just don't want to do anything, and that's difficult. But at least having things set up around you to help you do that will mean that on more days than not, hopefully you'll be in a position to do something. Set the bar low. But in terms of this video and aspirations for recovery, I would just say lower them. Lower them. I don't want to be sound like pessimistic, but I don't think there's a cure. I think there are tools and understanding. You need the right kind of therapy and the right kind of research off your own back if you can get into doing that, and the right people around you and the right expertise, so that you can understand why you feel the way you do. And some of those things, they're obviously super uncomfortable, and you just have to kind of sit with that sadness for a period of time. You can't wave it away. If it's something that happened, it happened. If you've done things yourself to make your life worse because of how you've reacted to stuff, well, it's done. Don't double beat yourself up over it. We all revert to type. That's kind of what we do when the going gets tough. And reverting to type isn't always the most helpful for you. But what we try and hope to achieve, and I still do with my sort of day-to-day, week-to-week things to try and help myself, is to have those tools around me to try and make my default revert to type at least give myself a chance to not do that, because my revert to type can be really destructive for a number of reasons. Trying to buy my way to happiness, I've done that lots of times. Of course, it doesn't work. You can't drink yourself to happiness. You can't take any set of substances to make you get happy. You can't just erase the past. It just doesn't go away. But what you can do is keep your aspirations for recovery sensible, and think that actually you're not actually going to a I have recovered stage. All it is, for me anyway, is a long-term life pursuit of having tools, help, things around me, and parameters to live in. Some of the CBT things that people may have done, and NLP, some of those things can be useful. And just trying to work on yourself and accepting, that's a big thing. Just, I think, accepting that you're not just going to be, I'm okay, I'm totally cured. Some of those things are just going to be there, and you have to work with them and work with yourself. So I hope that makes sense. What's what I'm trying to say there. A lot of people won't agree. I'm sure there'll be professional people out there who will be, yes, you can be cured. Well, I don't know what words they might use. For me, that's just not the case. In the 30 years since I first recognised what I now know to be depression and perfectionism issues, and I think because I was so let down so frequently, I just assume if things are always going to be let down, and then by default that's meant that my ideals for things are even higher than they should be. I'm an averagely intelligent guy. I'm in sales. I've got an all right job and whatnot. But the fact is, I always expect things over and above my station. Probably because I've been so let down in the past. So aspirations are really important. So just quickly to recap on that before I go into my little book list, because I'm mindful of becoming on a bit of a Richard ramble. I don't think there is just a cure, okay? I don't think you just be cured. Just set the aspirations down, do the things you need to do to help yourself, but it is an ongoing process. It's not a destination. It's an ongoing process that you need to invest time, some effort in yourself. And some days you'll do that, other days you won't. It's just the way it is, but you must try. Now, books. My most important book is actually one that I keep for myself. You can just see that sanity inside, a little smiley face. This I read every morning. These are some notes I've taken from counselling sessions, but I start off every other page. It's got a little note to self. It doesn't take all that long to read. It's like 15 minutes in the morning. Sounds like a hassle. It is. Sometimes I don't. But if I'm feeling really down, I can't be asked. But I try to, like I say, it's an ongoing process. And I've got, not that these notes mean anything to you, but I've got notes I made that are poignant from counselling and therapy sessions. And I have a little read them, and you notice there, look, some of them are highlighted. So those are the ones that are probably the most important to me. I just have a quick reminder of it. And what it doesn't do is take me into a bad place to remind me why I had to write the notes, which is a good thing, because, that some people that might be the case. It might be like, oh God, it's kind of bringing things up. But for me, it's different to that. I see the notes, the ones that I've highlighted in particular, and they just give me a little bit of a reminder and a lift about some of my self-worth. And then I go on to the next day, and then I've given myself another little pick-me-up note. So this book goes on, and there's another pick-me-up note. So lots of them. So little sort of punctuated pick-me-up notes, and then lots of notes from sessions. And there are also notes in here which are just a few notes to self. If I've had a really good day, I'll keep like a diary note of that and why that was, and then I might try and repeat that. Those activities or whatever it was that made me have that good day. I'll try and repeat it. So it's good to have it's not a journal. I mean, God, I'm terrible at keeping diaries and stuff. I can't be asked. It's too much, it's not me. But having something, so that's part of your toolbox. And then other books. Now, we're not all book readers. I mean, God, I've never been a book reader at all. It's my least nightmare. I don't even like the sound of my reading voice in my head. And if that sounds crazy, next time you read a book or read anything, but particularly a book, especially if it's a novel, when you're reading the words on the page, you're actually reading them with an audible in your head voice. They don't just appear in your mind, do they? Otherwise, that would be an audio book. So there has to be a voice. I don't like the sound of my voice reading to myself. So I never got into reading, but I've persevered. This one. Book. There's no particular order. Outwitting the Devil. It's got a few things that are worky related, a few things about the topic we're talking about. It looks a little bit heavy going. It's based on something from the 1930s, but have a look at that if you can be bothered. Have a look at this. Pig wrestling. That's an interesting one. Bit of a it says solve any problem on the front here. I relate to some of these things a little bit to work, but a lot of things in your personal life. It's quite a thin book as well, look, not too much in there. Interesting book written by a guy, a couple of guys who had, I don't know, I guess lots of different sort of analogies as to how you could look at things differently and why. And it's interesting, you can apply some of those things. It's not too heavy going. Bit cheesy, you'd probably think, oh, Paul McKenna. he is a bit cheesy, isn't he? I found that I've read this about 7 times now, and there are some bits in it I just don't like the way he's written it for me, but I just look past that and take out some nuggets of gold. It's quite thick. It comes with a DVD and audio to put in your MP3 or whatever as well. It says you're supposed to do it over a 7-day period, so I would suggest you only do this if you're in a little state of feeling slightly better about yourself, because obviously it's a week's commitment, but well worth it. If you've got any concerns about drink, that's a good one. It makes you think about booze in a completely different way. It's not overly scientific as such, but it basically, instead of it showing you, oh, isn't drinking fun, it just talks about what it does to your body, what it does to your mind, how we've been conditioned to be driven by alcohol, and alcohol is acceptable. And I'll have a little look. I won't bore you with it, but that has been invaluable. This one, 5-second rule. I'm not too sure how they made a whole book out of this, because the premise of this is fairly straightforward, but it's a bit about punctuating your thought process, giving yourself a little bit of time before you fly off the handle and do or say something you shouldn't do. But it's a good book. The words are quite big. There's not too many words on the page. You can get through it quite quickly. And the last one is this. Now, you might think that's a bit off-piste, which I suppose it is in a way. I'm a gym guy. I used to be a personal trainer for years. I'm not anymore. Big old fat bloke now. But the interesting thing with this one, this is about a guy who moved to America, and he felt bullied and intimidated by his surroundings. And he saw a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger on the front of a magazine, and he thought that those muscles looked like armour, and if he had some armour, he could protect himself from the world. And it charts his progress going into the bodybuilding world, and how ultimately, when he sort of gets to the end of it, it's a bit of a false economy. It's, the strength is really sort of from within yourself, and all the toil and trouble he went to build his armour didn't give him what he was looking for. That's how thick that book is. If you're someone who's into training, it's an autobiography effectively, but it's really interesting the way it's written and what it's about. So anyway, thank you if you've managed to stick with me for this long. Appreciate it. All comments will be responded to. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on Aspirations for Recovery, and for any of the books or audios you think that would be good for me to have a read. There'll be some other videos. I'll try and keep them a bit shorter than this one. I've rambled, but I'm going to talk some more about reckless behaviours and what you can try and do about those. I'm going to talk about self-love, self-hate, loathing, and how to look at things a bit differently there, perhaps. I'm going to have a little look at some alternative ways of looking after your financial life. And there are a few other things. So it's going to be a few parts to this series, but hopefully it will be useful. And like I say, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. I'm just a regular guy who's had a shitty life and made it shittier for himself in many instances, and he's still ongoing to try and make that better. Right, Rich out. Please subscribe and like if you want to. More than welcome to. There are a number of other videos I've done about different things. Have a good day. Look after yourselves.